Today we're out here at the Cimarron Valley Research Station just south of Stillwater, and joining me today is Becky Carroll, who is our fruit and nut extension specialist. And Becky, you know I'm not a big fan of pears, but you tell me you got one that I'll like.
Yep, this is a different kind of pear. This is called an Asian pear.
Okay.
And so European pears, usually the ones you see in the grocery store most often, those are, they have grit cells, but these are called apple pears as well. And so
they look like an apple.
They do.
Yeah.
The shape looks like an apple, but the texture is more like an apple as well.
Okay.
Very crisp and sweet, but these are juicier than most apples you've ever eaten as well. So really hydrating, lots of fiber, really good for you. And instead of, you know, buying them at the grocery store in a little foam package that are pretty expensive, you can grow your own.
Okay.
And they can last for several months in your refrigerator or even just in a cool, dark place.
Okay, yeah, they're kind of a specialty crop, right, at the grocery store. So this is not something you just pick out of the bin per se, right?
No, they are protected and pricey.
Okay, all right. So let's grow our own.
Okay.
And I see we've ordered in some trees here.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about kind of how to establish a tree and why we would be doing it this way versus a lot of times we start seeing those containerized fruit trees showing up.
These are bare root trees, and so we've got two different types because we need cross-pollination between two varieties.
On this particular one?
On pears and apples and a few other fruit trees. But these are bare root, so they are dug at the nursery. They take a big spade and they go along and they cut underneath the root system, and then they store them until they ship them.
Okay.
And so a bare root tree is usually less expensive than a container tree. They get established pretty quickly, and you can also order a smaller size tree. And that's key for getting them established and growing quickly, setting the structure properly. If you have a big, tall tree, it's hard to get that structure correct if you're not pruning it back after planting.
Right, and we're going to talk about pruning here in a minute, but it's like you don't want to buy too much and have to cut it off, right?
And so I like to order small trees in the fall, have them shipped to me about this time of year.
And also you can be a little more particular on your cultivars that you're buying,
you can.
Right?
There's a lot more to choose from.
Okay.
And so you have a big selection, and like I said, you can get a different size tree. So on pears and apples, I want at least 36 to 40 inches tall, usually on a pear tree, but like a peach, maybe only like 24 inches is good enough.
Okay.
So they're less expensive trees too. I pay attention to the price. But on this tree, we're going to take a look at it before we plant. We're going to
and of course, let me interrupt you. We've had it in water.
Yes,
so as soon as you get it, you unpack it and put it in water, right?
Not exactly.
Okay.
If you're going to be getting it shipped to you, you want to open it up, make sure it looks good. If it's got a problem, then send it back to the nursery. But these roots will dry out and they will freeze. So you have to protect them between when you receive them and when you plant them.
Okay.
So we've had this one in water for a few hours just to get it fully hydrated again.
So how have you been storing it though? Like healing it in? Is that
you can heal them in or put them in a cooler or we've had some in our storm shelter where it stays pretty cool.
Okay, all right.
And so so on this one, this root looks like it's been damaged. I'm going to just prune some of these back. And anytime you prune a root, it's going to initiate new root growth. Okay. So that makes it a little bit easier when you're planting. Your hole size doesn't have to be quite as big. It's just initiating new root development. So it's a good thing to go ahead and do that.
All right.
Now you don't have to cut it all the way back. I might be a little harsher than some people. Then whenever we get ready to plant it, we want to make sure we have it at the right depth and the right depth of hole dug.
Okay, and so when we're talking about this as we have it up here, this almost looks like a stem to me, but this is not all stem. You've got some roots growing here.
It was planted at the nursery about this deep.
Okay.
So you can see a color change in this area right here, and you can start to see there's little roots that are coming off. And so this portion is the root, and this is the trunk.
Okay.
And so we want to plant it about the same depth that we had it at the nursery.
All right.
So not too deep. I'd rather have it more shallow than too deep.
Okay, and I want to acknowledge this little bend right here a little bit too. So most fruit trees are grafted, right? So this is the fruiting wood that is on the rootstock.
That's right, yep. And it's very important to know where that is, because if you get shoots coming out below this budded portion or grafted portion, you'd want to remove those because it's taking energy away from your producing part.
Okay, all right. In fact, you can still see the little, where they removed that previous wood from. So.
Sure.
Okay, so we get planting?
Let's go ahead and plant it.
All right. All right, Becky, I like digging in the sandy soil.
Yes, the sand is much easier than clay.
Do they need sandy soil, or let's talk about that?
Pears and apples can handle a heavier soil. They don't mind the clay. But we're not going to amend this hole with anything else. We're going to go back in with the native soil that came out. And so no compost, no fertilizer, no sand, nothing else, just the native soil.
All right, and we got it at that right line where it was buried at the nursery.
Yep.
And we want to make sure not to bury the grafted bud.
That's right. We want it at the right depth. That way we didn't dig our hole too deep, so it's not going to sink in that hole.
Okay.
So fertilizer, a lot of people want to fertilize immediately. We're going to let this tree, we're going to let it start to grow before we add the nutrients out. It's going to be not very much, maybe a pound, a triple 10 or triple 13, and for that first season. And you could split that application in a couple of weeks' time, but wait until it's got about 6 inches of good growth on it before you start to fertilize. I will go ahead and kind of tamp it down a little. And you don't want to get too aggressive where you're breaking off any roots or anything, but I'll kind of tamp it down. Sometimes I'll use the end of the shovel handle or something, but feet work pretty good too.
Okay. And then of course water's pretty critical, right?
Yeah, especially this time of year, we want to make sure that we're going to get water on it to get all the air pockets out, because if there's air around those roots, it's going to dry out and your survival won't be that great.
All right. So will we need to kind of mulch this or kind of make a tree ring for it or anything?
Depending on your soil type. This sandy soil, it would do really well with some mulch, just bark mulch. At my house where I have clay soil, I would not want to mulch very heavy or at all, because it would hold too much moisture. And so, you know, you kind of have to take that in consideration.
All right, we've got a little pruning to do though first, right?
We've got our tree planted. Now we're gonna come back. I like to find a bud that is facing the south.
Okay.
And on this one, right here's your bud where it was. So we're gonna prune this back. And
what's the height we're looking for?
We're looking about maybe a third of the tree. We're gonna come back. And so about 30 inches, 36 inches is good.
So we just want to make sure we're not getting too close to damage that bud. And eventually that's going to grow and start our new canopy.
Right. And on pears and apples, we're looking for a central leader. And so we'll select this bud to be our next leader. And then we'll prune it back to get some scaffold branches on our tree, and in about 4 or 5 years, maybe we'll have some fruit.
All right, well, we'll check back in. I think it's, how long do we get a harvest? But I think we got one right now, right?
Yeah, let's test this out here.
Okay, but usually 4 years before harvest?
Yep.
All right, I'm gonna see if this is true.
All right, see if I've convinced you to like pears.
It really does taste like an apple. Not gritty or mealy at all.
Super juicy.
Thank you so much, Becky.
You're welcome.
We hope you enjoyed this video as part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on the OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.